I never expected a simple sleepover to unravel the life I thought I had carefully built. When Ethan, my stepson, asked if his best friend Ryan could stay the night, I smiled and agreed without a second thought. After all, Ryan had been part of our lives for years, a boy I'd watched grow from awkward middle schooler into a charming, mischievous teenager. He was like family, or at least that's how I had always seen him. Ethan had always been the heart of our small, blended household. His laughter could fill a room, his stubborn streak could test anyone's patience, and yet he carried himself with a vulnerability that made me fiercely protective of him. I had come into his life when he was 12, and over the years, we had found a rhythm, a balance between guidance and understanding. And Ryan? He was Ethan's constant shadow, the friend who knew every secret, every joke, every fear. Watching them together, you'd think they shared a silent language only they could understand. That evening, the house hummed with the comfort of normalcy. The aroma of pepperoni pizza lingered in the kitchen, mingling with the faint scent of Ethan's cologne and Ryan's youthful shampoo. Video games buzzed from the living room as their laughter echoed, each tease and playful taunt a reminder of how seamlessly Ryan fit into our family dynamic. From the kitchen doorway, I observed them, feeling a quiet pride in the life we had created, a home filled with warmth, routine, and the simple joy of companionship. But beneath the laughter, a subtle tension lingered, the kind you can't see but can feel. Ryan had always carried a certain intensity in his gaze, a spark of something I couldn't quite place. Ethan's protective jokes sometimes masked unease, small glimpses of vulnerability hidden behind bravado. I told myself it was normal teen energy, the awkward oscillation between friendship and identity. I reassured myself that our home was safe, that trust was intact. Yet, as I watched Ryan lean closer to Ethan during one particularly loud burst of laughter, a flicker of unease stirred in the pit of my stomach. It was fleeting at first, easily dismissed, but it refused to vanish entirely. Something about the way their eyes met, the hesitant smiles, the subtle brushing of hands over the controller, whispered a warning I wasn't ready to acknowledge. Little did I know. That night, the ordinary rhythms of our home, the laughter, the warmth, the familiar comfort, would fracture in a single, shocking moment. By the time the night was over, the people I thought I knew so well would reveal a side I could never have anticipated. And in that instant, nothing in our lives would ever be the same. The night felt ordinary at first. Too ordinary, perhaps, in hindsight. Ethan and Ryan had settled into his room with their usual banter, trading stories, teasing each other over games, and replaying moments from school that only they could find hilarious. I watched from the hallway for a moment, a cup of tea in hand, smiling at the familiar rhythm of their friendship. It was a rhythm I thought I understood, one I believed was safe. Ethan had always been a careful boy, thoughtful in ways that made me proud. Even in his rebellious phases, he carried a moral compass I trusted. Ryan, on the other hand, had a mischievous streak that was harder to read. There was an edge to him, a subtle unpredictability, but I had always attributed it to youthful exuberance. He laughed too loud sometimes, pushed boundaries just enough to annoy, but never to harm, or so I had convinced myself. I remembered when Ethan first introduced Ryan into our lives. They were inseparable from day one. Two boys who complemented each other perfectly, balancing humor with honesty, bravado with vulnerability. Over the years, Ryan became almost like a son I hadn't given birth to, but had grown to care for deeply. Our home had always been open to him, a safe place where laughter was plentiful, and secrets were shared freely. That evening, the air was heavy with familiarity, the faint scent of laundry detergent mixed with Ethan's cologne, the hum of the ceiling fan circling lazily above, the soft glow of the lamp casting long shadows across the walls. Every detail reassured me that life was predictable, that trust was intact, and yet, beneath the surface, a tension lingered I couldn't quite name. I found myself wandering past their room several times, drawn by something I couldn't articulate. The sound of their laughter now carried a strange undercurrent, a hesitation I hadn't noticed before. Ryan leaned closer to Ethan in ways that made me pause, but I quickly shook off the thought, labeling it as nothing more than boyish familiarity. I told myself not to overthink it, not to read into what might not exist. As bedtime approached, I lingered in the living room longer than usual, sipping my tea and glancing at the hallway. The quiet outside their door felt heavier than it should have, filled with the weight of unseen possibilities. My intuition prickled, whispering that the night might not end as predictably as I hoped. And in that moment, before any words were spoken or actions taken, a subtle unease settled in, a premonition that the ordinary was about to shatter, and that trust, carefully nurtured over years, would be tested in ways I had never imagined. The clock ticked past midnight, and the house had slipped into a rare, almost eerie silence. I was curled on the couch, trying to focus on a book, but every creak of the floorboards, every faint whisper from the boys' room, tugged at my attention. Something in the air felt different, heavier, though I couldn't yet put a finger on it. Then came a sound, a soft thump, almost too quiet to notice. I froze. My heart skipped a beat, and I told myself it was nothing. Probably Ethan tossing in his sleep, Ryan adjusting on the bed. But the uneasy sensation in my chest refused to fade. I set my book down and padded toward the hallway, ears straining for the next sound. "Mom?" Ethan's voice called out softly, but it wasn't his usual confident tone. It was hesitant, almost defensive. I felt a flicker of worry. "I'm fine," came another voice, Ryan's unusually strained, a nervous edge cutting through the familiarity I had grown comfortable with. I stopped outside their door, my hand hovering over the knob, unsure if I wanted to see what was happening, or perhaps too afraid not to. The laughter I had come to associate with friendship now sounded off, tense, awkward. It wasn't teasing or joking. There was a hesitation, a charged silence between them that made my stomach twist. Then I noticed it, the subtle closeness, the way Ryan leaned into Ethan just a fraction too long. The accidental, or maybe not so accidental, brushing of hands as they reached for a game controller. My mind raced, trying to rationalize what I was seeing. It's just a mistake. They're just messing around. I'm overreacting. But the instinct inside me refused to be silenced. I opened the door slightly, heart hammering. The sight that met me stole my breath. The two of them froze, caught in a moment that should never have existed. Ryan's face went pale, eyes wide, guilt spilling from every expression. Ethan's features mirrored my own shock, a mixture of panic, shame, and confusion. What's happening here? My voice trembled despite my effort to remain steady. The room seemed to contract around us, every heartbeat loud, every word suspended in the thick air. Neither boy could respond immediately, swallowed by the gravity of the moment. It was the first crack in the world I thought I had carefully built. Trust, safety, innocence. They all seemed to slip away in an instant, leaving only questions and a gnawing sense of betrayal. I realized with a sinking certainty that this night would change everything. As I stepped back, giving them space but unable to tear my eyes away, the tension hung between us like a storm waiting to break. Nothing would feel the same again. The ordinary had ended, and the consequences of a single impulsive mistake were about to reveal themselves in ways none of us were ready for. The room was thick with silence, each second stretching like a taut wire ready to snap. I couldn't look away, yet I felt paralyzed, caught between outrage, disbelief, and an almost surreal disbelief. Ryan's eyes met mine first, wide and pleading, as if seeking forgiveness that I wasn't ready to give. Ethan's gaze dropped to the floor, shame written in every tense line of his body. I didn't mean for it to happen, Ryan finally choked out, his voice breaking. I don't know what came over me. He swallowed hard, as though the weight of his actions had lodged itself in his throat. I could feel the raw, desperate sincerity in him, yet it did little to soften the sting of betrayal that lanced through me. Ethan whispered almost inaudibly, "Mom, I'm so sorry. I didn't want this. I didn't know how it happened either." His words were a fragile thread, quivering with remorse. I could see the conflict in him, the child I had watched grow, the boy who still needed guidance, now trapped in a situation he could neither undo nor fully comprehend. I stepped back, trying to steady my racing thoughts. My heart ached not just for myself, but for the boy I had come to love as my own, the one whose trust I had nurtured so carefully. And yet, the boundaries had been crossed. The home I had considered a sanctuary now felt fragile, brittle under the weight of a single reckless moment. I remember the way the room seemed to shrink around us, every object suddenly charged with meaning. The blanket on Ethan's bed, the controller they had been holding, the dim lamp casting long shadows. It was all part of the tableau of a betrayal I hadn't imagined possible. I wanted to scream, to lash out, but the words caught in my throat. Instead, I let the silence hang, giving them space to confront their own guilt, their own confusion. This changes everything, I finally said, my voice steady but low. Not because I hate either of you, but because trust doesn't heal overnight. And right now, we need to understand what this really means. I looked from Ethan to Ryan, seeing the weight of the realization in their faces. The spark of innocence, of carelessness, of impulsive desire, had collided with consequences they were unprepared to face. For the first time, I understood the depth of human complexity, that mistakes could be made even by those we love most, that intentions and actions are not always aligned, and that the path forward requires courage, honesty, and perhaps the willingness to accept an uncomfortable truth. In that quiet, tense moment, I recognized a painful yet undeniable fact. Nothing would ever be quite the same. Our relationships, our trust, our understanding of each other had shifted irreversibly. And yet, within the rupture, there lay a chance, a fragile, uncertain chance, to rebuild, to confront the consequences, and perhaps, in time, to find a new balance. The days that followed were quiet, almost painfully so. Our home felt different. Still the same rooms, the same furniture, the same familiar smells. But something fundamental had shifted. Every glance, every word exchanged carried the weight of that night, a silent acknowledgement of a mistake that could not be undone. I spent long hours talking with Ethan, guiding him through his guilt and confusion. He was still my stepson, the boy I had loved and protected through every storm of adolescence. But now, I had to help him confront the consequences of actions he hadn't fully understood in the moment. Ryan, too, faced the reality of what he had done. He couldn't simply apologize and move on. Trust, once fractured, demanded time, honesty, and effort to repair. We set boundaries carefully, with conversations that were honest and often uncomfortable. Ryan was no longer allowed unsupervised access to our home. We talked openly about respect, consent, and responsibility, laying a foundation that acknowledged the gravity of the mistake while leaving room for understanding and growth. Ethan and I had many late-night talks, just the two of us, rebuilding a sense of trust and reinforcing the bond that had been tested so brutally. Looking back, I realized that life doesn't offer easy fixes. Mistakes, sometimes monumental, force us to confront uncomfortable truths about ourselves and the people we care for. That night had shattered my sense of safety, yes, but it also revealed the importance of honesty, accountability, and the careful work of rebuilding relationships after trust has been broken. I learned that forgiveness is not synonymous with forgetting. It doesn't erase the memory of what happened. It simply allows space for growth, reflection, and the possibility of moving forward. We couldn't pretend the night didn't occur, nor could we ignore the emotions it had unearthed. Instead, we faced them head-on, confronting the pain and confusion without letting it define our entire relationship. Even now, I catch myself thinking about that night, not with rage, but with clarity. It taught me about the fragility of trust, the complexity of human desire, and the resilience required to navigate the consequences of mistakes. Ethan and I are closer now in some ways, bound by the honesty we forced ourselves to embrace. Ryan remains a figure in our lives, but with caution, boundaries, and a mutual understanding of what is and isn't acceptable. Life is messy, unpredictable, and sometimes unbearably complicated. That night will always be a shadow in my memory, a reminder of how quickly trust can be tested. But it is also a testament to the possibility of growth, the enduring strength of love, and the quiet hope that, even after mistakes, we can find a way to navigate forward with integrity and compassion.